And welcome to the first ever Scottie Sports Talk, coming to you live from Ernie's Bar and Grill right here in Highland, Kansas. This is a new show. Each week we're going to feature different coaches, staff, administration, fans, alumni, and some student athletes, and bring you up to date with everything Highland Athletics. It's an exciting time of year here at Highland, Kansas, as our fall sports program started up this past weekend. In this week's show, we have head football coach Aaron Arnold, head cross-country coach Chad Clevenger, and head women's volleyball coach John Bingesser all joining us. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back after this short break. You're watching Scottie Sports Talk, coming live from Ernie's Bar and Grill, Highland, Kansas. And welcome back to Scottie Sports Talk, coming to you live from Ernie's Bar and Grill, Highland, Kansas. Joining us now, head football coach of the HCC Scotties, Coach Aaron Arnold. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Coach, let's start off by talking about the season opener last Saturday night at home versus Dodge City Community College, the number 8th ranked team in the country. You were able to knock them off 26-16. Take us back to last Saturday and let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, anytime you get a top 10 win, it's big, and it was a big one for our program. I was really proud of our guys. We went out and we went into the game. And it's always hard to prepare for the first game of the year at the JUCO level because you just really don't know what you're going to get out of the other team. But I felt like our staff did a good job developing our game plan, and our players went out and did a good job executing. We made it interesting down the stretch. We had a couple moments there where we kind of let Dodge City back in the door, and Dodge City's a good football team, and when you let a good football team back in the door, they're going to take it down to the wire. But I was really proud of our guys. I told them in the pregame, to beat a team like Dodge City, you have to go out and play hard for 60 minutes, and that's what they did. And in the end, we were able to walk out there with a W.
Khalil Render, quarterback, what a nice showing, posting 214 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed for 35 yards, and 1 touchdown. How important was his play on Saturday?
Well, he was the offensive player of the game. And I think when you look at what Khalil does for our team, I told Khalil and the whole team after the game that I thought that was the best game that Khalil had played. And this is a kid who last year had a game where he scored 8 touchdowns, and he's had 300, 400-yard passing yard games before, and he didn't do that this week. But what he did was he went out and executed our game plan as close to perfect as you can. He made great decisions all night long. He protected the football. And by doing such a good job doing those things, he gave us a chance to be in the game late. And so his play was huge for us. Hard to explain how important he was for what we were able to do on Saturday.
A brand new offensive line. All of them took their first snaps last Saturday night at 7 p.m. They only gave up 1 sack. How important was that line on Saturday?
Yeah, I've been saying from the beginning of the year, I'm going to have to earn my paycheck this year as the O-line coach. Anytime you send 5 freshmen out there to play, you're a little bit nervous. They're a little bit nervous, and you could see it pregame. They were a little bit nervous. They weren't scared. They were excited to go compete, but just the nerves were there a little bit. I thought they played really well. I walked off the field thinking we hadn't played very well, and someone quickly pointed out that we'd only given up 1 sack. And, that's a pretty good night. Obviously, we don't want to give up any, and a little bit of that credit goes to Khalil. He does a good job moving around back in there, but the run game, statistically wasn't very good, but a lot of what Dodge City did was force us to run laterally, and with the track being a little bit muddy, or maybe a lot muddy, it was hard to get the ground game going. Hopefully, as we move forward next week, we'll be able to add back in a little bit more effective running game, and that will help us in the passing game as well.
Going back to talking about it being a little muddy, yeah, if you were around Highland, Kansas, or even Northeast Kansas, we received a tremendous amount of rain last week, forcing you to practice indoors most of the week in our indoor practice facility, the Walters Wellness Center. Coach, how important is it to keep your guys mentally focused, practicing indoors, kind of tight quarters, not out on the grass, especially this early in the season?
It's very challenging to be able to have to practice inside. Now, that being said, we are very fortunate to have an indoor practice facility. We've got a great place to go in and do our thing. And if we don't have that, I don't know if we're able to go out and compete on this game. That facility gives us a chance to prepare. It's still not as good as going outside, but it's so much better than trying to practice in a basketball gym, which is what a lot of schools end up doing. So I think the biggest challenge of being inside is that you can't work the kicking game at all. And you saw that in our kicking game. We had 2 penalties on extra point. I think we had a punt return 2 different times where we only had 10 guys on the field. We had 12 on a field goal block. We had a lot of issues in the special teams game that needs to get fixed. But to defend our kids on that, that really comes back on me and our inability just to be able to practice our teams from being inside all week. But I was proud of our guys. We talk about overcoming adversity, and not being able to practice on a football field is adversity. And they did a great job being mature and being focused and staying on track when we were inside. And you can see throughout the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, we executed pretty well, and I thought we did a good job getting ready for the game.
What are some of the positive takeaways from last Saturday?
Well, the biggest is that we didn't get too banged up. You're always going to have some bumps and bruises, but we were able to stay relatively healthy. I think, usually with a young group of players, you see the most improvement from week 1 to week 2. So I'm really excited to see what we can do in week 2 with some improvement when we get to play on a field that's a little bit more dry. Again, I was very pleased with Khalil Render's play at quarterback. We had 0 turnovers on offense, which last year that was our big Achilles heel. We turned the ball over too many times. We seem to have done a good job getting that fixed so far. Defensively, I thought we played very well. Our game plan was great. Coach Vaughn did a good job game plan in Dodge City, and he had our guys in position to make plays, and they went out and played very well. Our defensive line, I think, was outstanding, but they did a great job rushing the passer, and they're going to continue to do that all year. I think we got a lot of things that went well that we can build on.
Going into next week's game, you travel to Garden City. What are some of the focuses?
Traveling out to Western Kansas is always challenging. You got a bunch of 18 to 19-year-old kids taking their first overnight trip, and we got to stay in a hotel. It's a 6-hour bus ride. And there's just a lot of distractions, and it's really important for us that this week as we move forward that we're focused on the task at hand, and we're not worried about the road trip. We've got to treat it like a business trip. We've got to go out there with purpose and with the intent to win the game, and not just to go out there and have a fun vacation out in Garden City. Garden City's a very good football team. They're exactly what I would expect from a great coach like Coach Sims in his second year. He's built the foundation in year 1, and now he's added in some talent. Defensively, I think they might be the best front 7 we see all year. There's some NFL guys floating around in there in their front 7. Their secondary is very good. Offensively, they're big and physical, and they're going to line up and run the ball. And, they're going to be a handful. I think they're kind of like us. They were picking the bottom half of the conference. I'll be really surprised if Garden City ends the season in the bottom half of the conference. I think they are a very good football team.
How important is it to compete well on the road, especially in the Jayhawk Conference?
Well, that was the other thing that we didn't do a good job of last year. We were solid at home. We won most of our home games, and we lost most of our road games. We've got to be able to go win games on the road. Every game we play is a conference game. They all matter, and they're all going to be against great teams. So we've got to grow up in a hurry and mature really quickly and be able to handle all that comes with the added distractions of a road game.
Lastly here, Coach, tell us about your staff. Who do you have on staff? What are their roles? What do they do?
I cannot say enough good things about my staff. I think I don't know if people understand how important your staff is. You're only going to be as good as your coaching staff allows you to be, and I am very fortunate to have an outstanding coaching staff. I think how lucky I am every day to have so many great guys that I have been able to surround myself with. And, they are the people who put us in position to win these games. My defensive coordinator, who I already mentioned, Walter Vaughn, he's back for it's his second year with me. He was with me 2 years ago and took a year off to go spend a season with Colorado State. He was actually the first coach that I got to hire as a head coach, and he does a tremendous job coaching and putting together our defensive game plan. Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, our defensive line coach is Peyton Kirk. Coach Kirk was someone who I actually got to coach while he was at K-State, and got to see him as a player, and now he works for me and does a great job coaching the D-line. Maurice Gray is our defensive back coach. I think Coach Gray is one of the best defensive back coaches in the country. He's a great recruiter and just does an outstanding job. On my side of the ball, Coach Remmers is our offensive coordinator, and he works for the quarterback. And I think you could really see on Saturday how good he's been for our quarterbacks, and just with Khalil making great decisions. And Coach Remmers used to be a defensive coordinator, so he brings a really unique perspective to the offensive side of the ball. He has a real understanding of what the defense is trying to do, and it's been really big for me in my game planning to have that perspective. Coach Stanton, Jarrett Stanton, is our wide receivers coach. He was with us last year and coached our RBs and did a great job, and really does a great job teaching our wide receivers the fundamentals of the game. And then lastly is Kyler Reed, who just joined our staff this past year. Coach Reed was with Nebraska, was an all Big Ten receiver for Nebraska, and works with our tight ends and running backs, and does a great job teaching those guys how to play the game.
That's great. Well, Coach, that's all we have for you tonight. Thanks for joining us here, and good luck on the road as you travel out to Garden City on Saturday.
Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
All right, thanks. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have head cross country coach Chad Clevenger on. You're watching Scottie Sports Talk from Ernie's Bar and Grill, Highland, Kansas. And we're back live broadcasting from Ernie's Bar and Grill, Highland, Kansas. We just spoke with head football coach Aaron Arnold. Now our guest here on the show is head men's and women's cross country coach Chad Clevenger. Chad, welcome to the show this evening.
Thank you. I love being here. I'm fired up.
It's good to have you here. Coach, this is your 7th year at Highland, being the coach of the Scotties, but it's your first year to be in charge of both men's and women's cross country. In the past, you've just been men's cross country and men's track and field. Now you're in charge of all cross country, men's and women's. How's the transition been?
It's been a great transition. We've got really good leadership on the sophomores that we have that are coming back that are really helping us with the transition, being patient with the process. But it has been probably this first month with them has probably been the funnest, most relaxing I've ever been coaching here. It's just been wonderful.
That's great. Let's take it back kind of a few years, not to outdate your age, but what made you get into coaching in the first place?
You know, I had great support from my coaches in college and in high school, and I just wanted to learn a lot. And I wasn't the most talented athlete, but I always wanted to figure out a way to win. And so I would just study. I just studied and studied and studied and learned how to win, learned how to compete, and found myself winning some races that I probably shouldn't have won. And so I think if you talk to a lot of people I went to high school with and college with, they're not too surprised that I got into coaching. And I think we're in the double digits of people from my senior year of college that have actually gone into college coaching.
Really?
So
wow.
We've got a lot of coaches in that group.
Very good. Coach, you opened up the season last Friday at the Allen County Duels. The men finished in 3rd place as well as the women. Talk to us a little bit about those performances on both sides.
On the men's side, this is probably the best top 4 I think I've had since we've gotten here. The top 4 are just fantastic, and we had 4 ahead of Allen's 4 and Colley's 4, and we just got to close that gap with our 5th runner to our 4th. But Allen and Colley are both 2 teams that are going to be in the top 10 in the nation, and we were right there. So conference-wise, we're going to be right in the mix. On the women's side, Collie and Allen are both going to be top 10 teams, and we're not quite at that level yet. I think we're more of a 20 to 25 type team, and so we finished where we should have finished. And so I thought we did what we were supposed to do. We're not race ready, and that's on purpose. We want to race fast in October, November.
Okay. Jorge Guerrero, he was your best runner, ran a 16-minute, 35-second 5K and came in 4th place. John Bruner and Jose Jaime both crossed the finish line at 16:47 and 16:48 respectively. Tell us more about those 3 athletes you have.
You know, John and Jorge, 2 sophomores that have really just taken over the leadership point, and we've got John Miller and Jordan Adams also sophomore-wise that are taking over too. But they've just improved so much. John Bruner was a 17, 50, 18-minute guy in high school and is running in the 16s now. So just huge improvement. So to see them do those things, and Jose Jaime, I'm really excited about him. He was a Division I signee a couple years ago, and some things didn't quite work out, and here he is with us, and we're going to reap the benefits.
It's
of
nice
that.
to land some of those athletes there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On the women's side, Lakeisha Willis finished 17th with a time of 17:40. She was Highland's top finisher. The Allen Jewels, followed closely by Ivana Uribe at 17:47 and Caitlin Slagle at 18 minutes 3 seconds. Coach, tell us about who you have on the women's side and how you look for them to compete a little bit this year.
Well, Lakeisha, the great thing about Lakeisha is she doesn't have any clue how good she can be. She's going to be very good. So when she starts figuring out how good she can be, her getting on campus is a big deal. Ivana's been practicing really well. In fact, last night, Ivana ran 7 miles and said probably the best 7 miles she's ever felt. So we're starting to progress, and we're starting to get in the right kind of shape and the right kind of frame of mind. And with Caitlin's a local girl from St. Joe who just works her tail off, a smart girl. And then we have Juliet Rios, who just was outside the top 3, but she's been leading workouts all along, and didn't have probably the best last half mile that we would be looking for in that race. But when she's healthy, we're going to be right in the mix, and we're going to be looking good.
You've touched on this a little bit, Coach, but we talk a lot about how important sophomores are to a program, especially at the junior college level. Tell us about the sophomores you have on both sides, men's and women's, and how you look to their leadership as you carry on throughout the season.
Well, really had to get their help on Friday. I was thinking with the transition, one of the biggest things is after a race, I want to make sure I'm with my team, and I see them come through the line, I'm hugging, high fives, fist bumps, making sure we're all okay. Well, the girls get done with their race, and I'm making sure they're okay, and I'm talking to them, and they're talking, what's my time? And all of a sudden I look over and I see the guys are lining up for their race. And oh my gosh, I got 2 genders I'm coaching now. So they didn't panic. No panic by those guys. They say, hey, we know what we're doing. We got an itinerary that we got to follow, and they were on the line, and they didn't miss a beat without me being there. And so that's a big help leadership-wise. And when we're still figuring things out, we've got guys that can step in. And on the women's side, we got a couple sophomores that are just fantastic with the transition from Coach Bond to myself, that are making the transition go really smooth. And this is probably, I'd say, our 2 teams get together and work together so well.
Yeah, that's great. Next week, you travel to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for the Augie Twilight. Tell us a little more about what that meet's about and what you're looking forward to traveling up there.
It's a festival. It's a festival of races. It's great. The lights go out and the athletes come out. And about 8:30, 9 o'clock, we have our races, and they got glow sticks lining up the course. They've got stadium lights lining up the course, and so it's on 5 soccer fields. We just go from one to the next. And it's 3 loops for the women, 4 loops for the guys, and I would say, after talking to the guys last year, probably one of the funnest meets we went to. It's like going to the fair for a cross-country athlete.
Well, Coach, that's all we have. Thanks for stopping in tonight, and good luck as you travel to South Dakota this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
All right. Thank you
for joining us. Yeah,
appreciate it.
We'll be right back after the short break, and head women's volleyball coach John Bingesser will be joining us right here. Coming to you live, Scottie Sports Talk, Ernie's Bar and Grill, Highland, Kansas. And we're back live here from Ernie's Bar and Grill in Highland, Kansas. Our guest now, head women's volleyball coach John Bingesser. John, thanks for coming out tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Tyler. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. It's good to have you here. Well, let's just start off talking about this past weekend, your opening weekend of the season. You guys traveled to Iowa. You went 1-3, but in a very competitive tournament. Let's talk a little bit about that tournament.
Well, Iowa Western, first of all, their program history is obnoxiously good. Their caliber of play is good. Every team at that tournament was one of the highest caliber junior conference teams that we've seen. In fact, we were one of, I think, three teams that were there that were not at the Division I national tournament this season before. So just to be there and experience that level of competition and to feel as if we were right there in the mix, that was a good experience right off the bat.
Coach, Miami-Dade transfer Tyresia Lukes. She had a great weekend, recording 41 kills. Let's talk about her performance.
We are very lucky to have a player like Tyresia. Girls like her, they don't come around very often, and so for us to snag her up is a huge find for us. Her performance this weekend was stellar, not just offensively but defensively. I mean, this girl can block. She touches 10 feet 1 inch, so she's fingers above the rim. So her not just her offensive threat, but just her wingspan on the net is pretty scary. Bringing her in, she's already this season has raised our level of competition in terms of players that were here last year and in terms of freshmen that we have coming in. She's helped establish a tone and she's set a standard that we are sticking to, and she's doing a lot more than what she realizes.
I know going 1-3 doesn't look that great, but there's always positives you can pull from losing games. I mean, that's how you learn. Talk to us about some of those.
Well, I mean, like I said, we played and we saw some of the toughest competition that I've seen junior college-wise. Western Nebraska, that team, they are good. Their coach is awesome. Their offense that they run is that of a Division I program. They do a lot of block deception, and for us to counter that and to be aware of that of what was happening right off the bat, and to think that we even had set points on them a couple times really puts us in the right direction super early.
That's good. What's great game prep look like for Wednesday night as you travel to Independence?
Well, Independence there, it's a long ways down there. So right now, if I can just keep our girls mentally focused, we should be able to go in there and take care of business.
That's good. John, it's your second year as head coach here at Highland. Explain some of the differences you've noticed just from year one to year two now.
Year one to year two, I would say my relaxation level has kind of gone down, or has gone up a little bit, but at the same time, I'm definitely more aware of what to expect. Last year, I kind of came in, with a really excited mindset of, oh, this is how it's going to be. If we do our job, we'll be really good. But I didn't take into fact that every other team has that exact same game plan, and so you've got to have a bit of an edge, and that's what I've definitely figured out this year.
Tell us about this group of sophomores. It's a group where all except Tyresia were all your first recruiting class here to Highland last year. Tell us a little bit about them.
I'm so thankful for these girls. They stuck out a tough season last year because we were developing. We were a developing team. We were establishing our identity as players, as a group working together. They've really done a good job of being that buffer between me as the coach and the incoming freshmen. I think they've definitely established our standard. They've created our team identity, and without them, we wouldn't have had the focus and the buy-in right off the bat.
Tell us a little bit about each one of them. Mariana Falls, Shaylee Cottle, Demi Bartonek, Josie Vitosh. You've already touched on Tyresia. Talk about the other four sophomores.
Well, Mariana, first of all, she's made a huge transition this year. She went from playing right side last year, just gotten a few matches, to playing 6 rotation middle. There was a match this weekend against Western Wyoming where I couldn't take her out, and she played 6 rotations, which is unusual for a middle, as they are usually subbed out for a libero in the back. So for her to be defensively in the front and in the back and jump every play in the front row and move every play in the back, that's something that was surprising for me to come from her, but now that's an expectation of her. Josie Vitosh, she's definitely, she bought her time. I mean, she waited last year. She sat in the shadow of Michaela Sirios, who's now at Ottawa, and now she's really taking into her own. Definitely an offensive threat too, and she had a ton of kills, and she's very consistent in terms of she won't make errors. Shaylee Cottle, I'm very proud of her. She's one too that she's definitely kind of taken her time and really found out who she is as a player. And once we get her hitting that ball as hard as she possibly can, she's going to be hard to stop too. Demi Bartnick, she's one that I've had even before Highland. I was her club coach for a few years while she was in high school. So the history I have with her, we've gone back, and to see her develop the way she's been doing is very rewarding to me, even on a personal level. These girls are, I'm very excited. Just all of the ones here, freshmen and sophomores, they're here because I brought them here. We're here all on the same page, and we're going to be doing great things this year.
That's good. Coach, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us, and good luck as you travel to Independence on Wednesday, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, that's all we have for this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to follow us to stay up to date with Scottie Athletics by following us on Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat at HCC Scotties. Also, we're launching a new athletic website, ScottieAthletics.com, this Thursday, September 1st, where you'll find all up-to-date information involving Highland Athletics. We'll see you next week back here at Ernie's Bar and Grill in Highland, Kansas, as we talk more Highland Athletics. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good week.